If you want to get ahead of 99% of data analysts, I can promise you this. It's not going to happen by analyzing more data sets, taking on more data projects, or by being a master SQL user. There are thousands of videos talking about these skills, but as an experienced analyst in tech, working with the leading industry data analysts, I can tell you that these skills will make you a data analyst, but will not make you better than 99% of others. Working on data projects and analyzing data is what every other analyst does, and querying data with complex SQL statements will not make you a top data analyst. So this begs the question, what do you actually have to do to get ahead of 99% of others? Picture this, as a new data analyst, you're given crystal clear instructions on how to determine the total number of sales from last month, and voila, you have a neat data set that you're able to get a clear answer and give to your stakeholder. But as you move up a level, the clarity starts to blur into ambiguity. The answers become less clear, as well as the data sets that are readily available. You're asked questions like, is the sales tool successful? And you're not sure. What does success mean? How do you measure that? Is it by total sales or by a customer experience rating? Depending on who you ask, you may get different answers. Enter the top tier data analysts. They don't dive headfirst into the data. They try to understand the true problem that even the business may not even know yet. They hold stakeholder meetings to understand the domain. They then write up a design document outlining the problem, the metrics that will be used to measure success, and the impact of this solution. They then seek feedback from the domain experts and iterate tirelessly until alignment emerges across the stakeholders, and only then, once the design document is complete, will they dive deep into data. And this is the first step of getting ahead of 99% of data analysts. Navigate ambiguity. One of the best ways to determine a data analyst level is by looking at whether they can thrive in ambiguity. So if you're looking for straightforward questions with straightforward answers, it will be really hard for you to move up in your career, especially with AI being able to do a lot of these tasks already. And if you want my opinion on AI and the future of data analysts, I will link that video above. So get comfortable with ambiguity. If you're in an uncertain domain, take the time to really research and get a handle of what it is. Use design documents to write what you learned from meeting with all these experts, outlining what the problem is and what the solution will be. And as you solve one ambiguous problem, you will then gain the confidence to do it again. And the more you repeat this process, it will become a skill that will make you ahead of 99% of other data analysts. When navigating ambiguity and designing a solution, most data analysts will think of a customized report or a dashboard. They don't question, what else can data do? How else can data be integrated into other systems? And does this fit into the wider vision of the organization? The top 1% ask these questions and they integrate them into their solution. Let me explain. Think of data like the building blocks of a playground. Most data analysts will build slides and swings, which are dashboards and reports, but the top 1% are playground architects. They're able to zoom out and see how all of these individual pieces create a playground rather than being zoomed in and focusing on just the swing. Just like a playground, the top 1% thinks of scalable solutions for the organization. It may be solutions that they themselves cannot build, but they have the vision for it and are able to partner with development teams to build it. The second step to getting ahead is to think big. The top 1% think differently. They are always thinking of out-of-the-box solutions for the organization. For example, they think of how data can be integrated into a front-end UI platform for the customer so that they have the insights readily in hand to make data-driven decisions. Or another example is Data analytics can be used in the background behind an alarming system to notify the customers of certain thresholds. Thinking big is a challenging skill to master, especially for beginner data analysts, because they're trained to think the final output is always a dashboard or report, but data can do so much more. Start training yourself now by not focusing on a specific task or a specific data set. If a customer asks, hey, I need to know the impact of A and B, and you only have A, don't be content and say, hey, I have A, but go to the other team for B. Think about, is there a solution where you can integrate A and B and provide a better solution for your customer? By taking a step back and thinking, how does this fit into the bigger picture of the organization, you will find yourself getting better at thinking big. After designing a solution, data analysts will tirelessly spend weeks and hours building a complex visualization only to have it never be used. Then the data analyst will blame the customer and say, well, they gave me the wrong requirements, when really the issue lies somewhere else. Here's the thing, majority of data analysts will build solutions independently without truly taking into account what are the user's needs. They have this mindset of I will build it and the users will come, without grasping or communicating with the user and what their true problem is. An example is when a data analyst adds another data set thinking it may be helpful to the user without truly making an impact on the real business need. The top 1% approach their work differently. They always start with understanding the customer's pain points and problems and then build a solution around it. This user-centric approach is the third step. They have a data product mindset. They treat data solutions as products rather than projects. This means that they are obsessed with their customers and throughout the development phase ensures that they are meeting the customer's needs. The other way of thinking of a project is a defined objective within a specified time period. Just as software engineers embrace a product mindset when building an application for customers, the top 1% embrace a product mindset. They build a solution for the customer and create a design document around what the customer's needs are. They then work on releasing a MVP, which is a minimum viable product, to get feedback early on in the process and iterate continuously based on their feedback to have a final product that is used by the customer. Like the 1%, embrace a product mindset. When you're working on a task or a product, take the time to do your research. Make sure that you really understand what the pain points are for the customer before even touching the data. The product mindset can really be embraced by all levels of data analysts. You have your junior data analyst, senior data analyst, then it moves up to principal data analyst, and eventually all the way up to a director of data analytics. Now, what is the difference between these levels? Is it the years of experience? It's not necessarily the years of experience, but the scope of influence. Junior data analysts work on the day-to-day operations, whereas a senior data analyst is looked at more as a team lead and works on initiatives within their department. Then you have a principal data analyst whose scope is wider and oversees the organization and acts as an organization leader. But the top 1% operate on a higher strategic level. They are the movers and shakers of the industry and impact strategically the business as well as the industry. The fourth step is influence the business and industry. The top 1% are looked at as industry leaders. They speak at global events, they stay on top of industry trends, and spark discussions around new topics. So now you're thinking, that's great, Agatha, but as a newbie, how am I going to influence the organization? Well, being new, you bring a fresh perspective. Maybe during the onboarding process, you notice gaps in the knowledge share and propose a process to update. You want to stay curious and look for opportunities for you to make an impact. The 1% are highly influential because they are masterful communicators, both speaking and writing. The 1% write compelling documents and are able to navigate the political environments to get alignment on their ideas. Utilizing data, they're able to quantify the impact with specific metrics. Instead of vaguely stating a system will increase revenue, they have data to back up their ideas and will say the system will boost revenue by 5% over the next year, providing clear quantified impacts that lead to data-driven decisions. The 1% are masterful speakers. They're able to take really complex problems and distill it down to a simple message for their audience. Echoing Albert Einstein's wisdom, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it enough. For aspiring data analysts, start honing your communication skills now. It's not about having the best technical skills or working the hardest. It's about how effectively you're able to communicate to your audiences and convey your ideas. I'd like to ask, please like the video and make sure that you're subscribed, because my next video will be filled with data analyst tips that you do not want to miss. I would also love to read in the comments what your thoughts are on these 1% steps to becoming the top data analyst. Mastering the steps of getting ahead of 99% of data analysts might sound daunting, especially if you are just a beginner starting out. And it is okay. Maybe you don't even want to be in the top 1%. I am not in the 1%, but I will say, as an experienced analyst in tech, these skills are fundamental and they are what recruiters look for when they are hiring. And once you get your foot in the door, having these skill sets will really help elevate your career. Technical skills are required, but being good at these principles is what will make you stand out in the crowd. Thanks, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.